There we go. We are live. And fucking charger came out. Oh, I gotta empty some stuff out of my pockets here. Just give me 1 minute. Let me. Oh shit! I forgot kick. That should. There we go. We'll get started here in just a minute. Okay. Oh, fuck me. I need to fix this anyway at some point. I still need to find a place to move it to. I say that every fucking stream, but I need to really find a place I can move it to. I don't know where. It should be here. Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, 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 fuck me. Oh boy. Oh my god, I gotta mute Discord too. Alright, excuse me just for 1 minute, guys. I'll be right back. I just gotta wash my hands. I spilled something. I'm back, everyone. Sorry about that. I spilled something. I had to clean up really quick and wash my hands. So, yeah, well, let's get started in the stream. Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to Cryptocast, your source for all things cryptid-related, unknown, and paranormal. I'm your host, Parker, and welcome back to another Cryptocast live stream today. We're going to be talking about the Prophecies of Nostradamus today, but before we get started, guys, I just want to put this out here. I went to talk to my doctor the other day, my psychiatrist, and he diagnosed me with ADHD. So if you guys kind of see me getting like distracted pretty easily, like during my streams, like you always see me like bending over, grabbing stuff on the floor, messing with it, that actually explains why. He can't put me on medicine for it right now because of what I'm currently taking, so I'm trying to work on it. So I appreciate your guys' understanding with that. But yep, we're going to be talking about the prophecies of Nostradamus today. And I got this book from my work of the same name, the Prophecies of Nostradamus. As you can kind of tell, it's an older book, but it's one of Nostradamus' predictions was associated with like 9/11. And this book is on obviously pre 9/11, not post. So I'm going to be kind of going off of that, really. So just keep that in mind while I'm reading this. A lot of these predictions in here have happened, and then there's still some that are still said to happen. But just keep in mind that this is post. I mean, not post. This is pre 9/11. So we are going to be talking about the prophecies of Nostradamus. Oh, I held that at a weird angle. That looked kind of creepy. No, it's like one of those things like where you move it, the eyes just kind of always are looking at you. That's freaky, honestly. But this is a complete book of Nostradamus' predictions. I'm going to kind of skip the prequel. We are just going to talk about the predictions. All right. Nostradamus is said he predicted the French Revolution. The French Revolution of 1789, which Nostradamus calls the Common Advent, the coming of the ordinary men in the preface, is here described. The aristocracy were always carried in litters, and this, their symbol, is overturned by the violent whirlwind of revolution. Could the line mentioning the heads covered by cloaks refer to the many exiles who fled from France, or possibly to the heads which fell from the guillotine and were hidden from sight? It's interesting that Nostradamus should here refer to France as a republic and no one that was greatly troubled by its new rulers. The era of Danton, Murat, and Robespierre during the Terror springs vividly to mind. White was the color of the Bourbon kings, and red, of course, was that of the revolutionaries. The last line may also imply the the lawgivers, i.e., the church and aristocracy, were judged by populace who were unsuited for this work. And this is the translation of his prediction. In the world there will be made a king who will have a little peace and a short life. At this time, the ship of the papacy will be lost, governed to its greatest detriment. So people believe that that right there is the prediction of the Revolutionary War. And we're going to talk about this one next because this is, he got his name pretty fucking close in this one. He predicted Nostradamus and Pius. Napoleon crowned himself King and Emperor of France on 18th May 1804 and abdicated in April of 1814, ruling for the short time of 10 years. Peace was certainly not a characteristic of his era. Pius first came to France to crown Napoleon as emperor, while on a second visit he came as a prisoner. The French army under General Miles okay, that should do it. Captured Rome in 1809, and the Papal States were joined to the French Empire in 1810. The Pope was held prisoner by Napoleon and only released by the abdication at Fontainebleau on January 23, 1814. The last line refers to the general religious anarchy that existed in France from the time of the dissolution of the clergy in 1792. And this is Nostradamus' translated prediction of Napoleon's rise to power. They will be driven away for a long drawn-out fight. The countryside will become most grievously troubled. Town and country will have a greater struggle. Carsicone and Narbonne will have their hearts tried. And Narbonne sounds pretty close to Napoleon, actually. So people believe that this is predicting Napoleon's rise to power. Let me see what else we got here. Let's see. I'm trying to find a pretty good one. So he predicted the assassination of JFK and RFK. The first three lines here may apply to the assassinations of the two Kennedy brothers. John F. Kennedy was shot down, Thunderbolt, in broad daylight at Dallas, Texas on November 22nd, 1963, by the psychopath Lee Harvey Oswald. The other man linked with him who was killed that night was his brother, Robert F. Kennedy, who was shot down on June 5th, 1968. In the early morning, while celebrating his victory in the presidential primary elections at a hotel. They put at an hotel. Hey, Sabrina, how are you? Line 2, the fact that the assassination had been told by the bearer of a petition may refer to the many death threats John F. Kennedy and his brothers received from their terms in office. The troubles in France, England, and Italy would refer to the repercussions of these assassinations. Beneath the oak tree of Jean struck by lightning, the treasure is hidden not far from there. That which for many centuries had been gathered. When found, a man will die, his eye pierced by a spring. Which is the prediction of the Kennedy brothers' deaths. Something about, let me see. Me too, honestly, Sabrina, I'm tired as well. And now this is Hitler in France. Nostradamus is describing one of the great warmongers of all time, Hitler, as a bird of prey, which name he also gives to Napoleon. The former seems more appropriate here, however. The left would mean nothing to Nostradamus other than a geographical sense, that is, the Low Countries Hitler invaded France through Holland and Belgium, having made his preparations well in advance. The third line refers to the corruption and uncertainty rife among French politicians in early days of the war, culminating in the Pedicents, who accepted Hitler's authority and the Vichy cabinet. The young lion will overcome the older one in a field of combat in a single fight. He will pierce his eyes in their golden cage, 2 wounds in one, then he dies a cruel death. I've been reading these predictions all horribly wrong. Actually, this is really weird. The the one the one actually for Hitler is the bird of prey flying to the left before battle is joined with the French. He makes preparations. Some will regard him as good, others bad or uncertain. The weaker party will regard him as a good omen. I'm sorry to hear that. Doesn't he come back tomorrow? Um, I know he's in Hawaii right now. And then one for the assassination of J.F. Kennedy, which I misread. The one above it was the right one. The great man will be struck down in the day by a thunderbolt, an evil deed foretold by the bearer of a petition. According to the prediction, another falls at night time, conflict at Remus, London, and pestilence in Tuscany. The French Revolution one was, when the litters are overturned by the whirlwind and faces are covered by cloaks, the new republic will be troubled by its people. At time, the reds and the whites will rule wrongly. Well, I'm glad he's coming back, though. Honestly, that's good. All right, death of the cold freezing November. Mm-mm. This one is going to be Nostradamus predicting the third Antichrist, it says. From the 3 water signs will be born a man who will celebrate Thursday as his holiday. His renowned praise, rule, and power will grow on land and sea, bringing trouble to the east. This describes a person with the 3 water signs of Aries, Cancer, and Aquarius dominant in his birth chart, presumably not a Christian, whose power becomes so great that he brings trouble to countries in the east. It may refer to the third Antichrist. I'm sorry if this is a weird stream. This book is just worded like extremely weirdly. Like, hmm. This man will be called by a barbaric name that 3 sisters will receive from destiny. He will speak then to a great people in words and deeds more than any other man will have fame and renown. This was Napoleon Bonaparte. This verse is always interpreted fitting Bonaparte because of the derivation of his name from the Greek which means destroyer or exterminator. The name was still spelt in this way during his lifetime, as the inscription of 1805 in the place Venemo shows Napoleon imp aug. Napoleon was barbaric in a more general sense, and being younger son of Corsican family whose language and standards were not those of Parisian society. He was also renowned for the great speeches he made to his troops before battle. And this is probably and this is kind of like the controversial one right here. And this is the attack on New York, so 9/11 essentially. Earth-shaking fire from the center of the earth will cause tremors around the new city. 2 great rocks will war for a long time. then Arethusa will redden a new river. And Arethusa was his way of saying America in his predictions. An explosion in the center of the city of New York, making the land tremble, or could tour here mean towers or skyscrapers. The two great rocks are immutable great powers who will eventually open war. Ingenious commentators interpret Arethusa as coming from Ares, god of war, and USA, the new river is presumably blood. Because of heat like that of the sun upon the sea, the fish around Negrepont will become half cooked. The local people will eat them when in Rhodes and Genoa there's a lack of food. And this is people interpret this one as him predicting a nuclear explosion. To produce such heat on the sea surface implies a very strong explosion, possibly of atomic force, somewhere in the Aegean Sea, as Negroponte is the Italian name for the island of Rabuia. The second implication that in Italy and other parts of Greece people are starving indicates the conditions of famine of war. Nostradamus mentioned his explosion again when he says the source comes from the sky. From Monaco as far as Sicily, all the coasts will remain deserted. There will be no suburb cities nor towns which have not been pillaged and robbed by barbarians. This may be a continuation of the last quatrain. Extending the area of the disaster through Italy to France, Nostradamus would describe as a barbarian, either Arab, I can't say that word, Russian, or Chinese, but from later quatrains, the latter is more likely an interpretation. And he also predicted this one. Near the harbor and in two cities will be two scourges, the likes of which have never been seen. Hunger, plague within, people thrown out by the sword will cry for help from the great immortal God. And many believe this prediction to be the predictions of the bombings of Nagasaki and Hiroshima during World War II, which were two very, very bad bombings that happened. 1945, both Nagasaki and Hiroshima are on the sea and experience a plague of radiation which had never been seen before on Earth. Two bombs were dropped, and the survivors would have looked very similar to the victims of the plague in Nostradamus' day, which turned them back, and for this was known as Le Charbon. Radiation burns turned black too, and there was a hunger among the miserable survivors who were thrown out of the cities by the sword of war. The last line speaks for itself. Among many people deported to the islands will be a man born with two teeth in his mouth. They will die of hunger. Having stripped the trees, a new king will pass new laws for them. The islands are either the French penal colonies such as Isle du Diable in South America, or those along the south coast of France, which are used for the detention of dangerous criminals. It is quite common for children to be born with some teeth already formed. The last line may predict the closing of the penal settlements. Most of the tropical ones are no longer in use. So people believe that those were the predictions for the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Uh, In Naples, Palmero, Sicily, and Syracuse, new tyrants thunder and lightning in the skies, a force from London, Ghent, Brussels, and Susa, a great massacre, then triumph and festivities. And this was believed to be Italy's part in the Second World War. The new tyrants for the Italian towns are the Mussolini regime of the Fascisti. The thunder and lightning become the sound of war in Italy. London goes out in a force against them, allied by Brussels, and wins the war after a great slaughter. So that is the prediction of World War II. And this quote was kind of what freaked a lot of people out when it happened. Beasts wild with hunger will cross the rivers. The greater part of the battlefield will be against Hitler. He will drag the leader in a cage of iron when the child of Germany observes no law. One of Nostradamus' most remarkable series of quatrains within the name Hitler, given an anagram as Hister. So he called Hitler Hister in his prediction, but they said Germany, and it just sounds so close to Hitler. There can be little doubt that Hitler is implied. Who else could be so well described by the last line? The German who observed no law. In the 16th century, handwriting the resemblance is even closer, with the use of the long S, Hifter. Commentators before 1930 understood the Hister to be the river of Danube from its Latin name Ister, but Hitler recognized himself as these quatrains by the mid-1930s. And Goebbels made great propaganda out of them in the pre-war party years. Evidence for this is found in many sources, chiefly Elik Hoe's book Nostradamus and the Nazis. During the first year of the Second World War, the development of the war was to a great extent dependent upon the rivers crossed by the Germans who came into Europe in a never-ending stream, looting and pillaging. Let's see. Let me see. There will be a great number of condemned people when the monarchs are reconciled, but one of them will be so unfortunate that they will hardly remain allies. Russia and the Allies, that's what this is predicting. This may be interpreted as a general quatrain about the alliances of Hitler and Stalin between the years 1939 and through 41. Others apply to the breakdown of the Yalta Conference of 1945 and interpret line 1 as referring to the Nuremberg trials and the misfortune as the commencement of the Cold War by Russia. Okay, now honestly, guys, this book is written honestly horribly. It's set up really bad. And honestly, I'm boring myself reading it. I'm probably boring you guys too, so I apologize. So we're just gonna switch to my phone. I'm just gonna leave Nostradamus right here in the back to watch us. There we go. And we're gonna look up Nostradamus predictions on my phone. We're gonna talk about them. It's gonna be easier. It's gonna be better this way. Because I'm boring myself reading this, and I know if I am boring myself reading this, I'm probably boring you guys too, and I don't want to bore you guys. So we're gonna spice this up a bit. We're gonna read something different on here about it. So some facts about Nostradamus. Nostradamus published a book in 1555 containing 942 quatrains that allegedly predict famous future events. Observers have come across a handful of predictions that do seem to reflect real-world events. In reality, most of Nostradamus' prophecies are poorly translated and vaguely worded enough to encourage tons of speculation. Nostradamus' name is synonymous with predicting the future. All right. The alleged oracle began publishing his famous cryptic quatrains in 1555, but these were no ordinary poems. Nostradamus was allegedly a diviner who was able to predict future tidings. The 16th century apothecary and astrologer's status as a reputed seer allowed him to solicit patronage from wealthy and prominent individuals like Catherine de' Medici, the Queen of France. Nostradamus' star didn't fade after his death in 1566. His works have continued to attract adherents who have connected his writings to earth-shattering events like the rise of Adolf Hitler and the 9/11 attacks. But like horoscopes, the predictions themselves tend to be vaguely worded, and therefore open to the reader's interpretations and biases. In Nostradamus's Bibliomancer, The Man, the Myth, the Truth, biographer Peter Lemonsurer concludes that Nostradamus believed that history repeats itself, and used the technique of projecting past events onto the future in order to make realistic sounding claims. What's more, scholars have argued that modern translations of Nostradamus' writings are sloppy and unreliable. With all that in mind, here's a look at some of the Nostradamus' most famous predictions. The death of King Henry II. Prediction: the young lion will overcome the older one. On the field of combat in a single battle, he will pierce his eyes through a golden cage. 2 wounds made 1, then he dies a cruel death. In the summer of 1559, King Henry II of France lined up to joust Gabriel Comte de Montgomery, who was 6 years his junior. The tournament was held to celebrate the upcoming wedding of the king's daughter. In their final pass, Montgomery's lance tilted up, burst through the king's poorly secured visor, piercing his eye, and splintered, according to On Death of Henry II. In the Journal of Neurosurgery, Camilla Dowling and James Goodrich write that the profusely bleeding king remained conscious and was able to walk up some steps with an unsteady gait. But splinters from the lance had entered the king's eye, throat, and temple. Despite his best efforts for royal surgeons, Henry II experienced agonizing pain, seizures, and partial paralysis before dying in his bed 11 days later. It all sounds pretty accurate on the surface, but according to Nostradamus, the Illustrated Prophecies, the prophecy's veracity is in doubt because it didn't appear in print until 1614. The Great Fire of London. The blood of the just will commit a fault at London, burnt through lightning of 23 threes the 6. The ancient lady will fall from her high place. Several of the same sect will be killed. What happened? This quatrain is often linked with the devastating Great Fire of London. In regards to the date, 20 times 3 is 60. Add 6 to that and you've got a total of 66. Or the year 66. London's infamous 3-day blaze began on September 2nd, 1666. September 2nd, 1666. The fire wasn't set off by lightning. However, a hot, arid summer and a spark in the bakery of Thomas Fariner on Pudding Lane set the stage for the inferno. Yo, that sounds like a great Pudding Lane. Peasant and middle-class deaths were not recorded at the time, according to the Smithsonian Magazine, but it's likely that hundreds or even thousands of people perished in the flames. In regards to the same sect portion of the quatrain, Londoners blamed the conflagration on Catholics and the Dutch, and a number of lynchings and attacks ensued as the city smoldered, the BBC reported. But the members of the same sect are also mentioned in conjunction with the ancient lady, which could be interpreted to refer to London itself. The prediction is one of the weaker prophecies, as it's often quite a stretch to link the historical events of the Great Fire of London with Nostradamus' words. The French Revolution. From the enslaved populace, songs, chants, and demands, while princes and lords held captive in prisons. These will in the future be headless idiots, be received as divine prayers. Starting with the storming of the Bastille in 1789, the French Revolution saw the overthrow of the monarchy and the establishment of a new republic. The Third Estate took control of Paris and forced their demands on royalty. Ultimately, the revolution turned bloody. Nobles and commoners alike were declared traitors to the revolution and beheaded at the guillotine. According to Britannica, 17,000 people were executed during the ensuing reign of terror, while 10,000 died in jail. Those figures account for all the victims of the First French Republic, not just the aristocrats. Louis Pasteur. The lost thing is discovered, hidden for many centuries. Pasteur will be celebrated as a godlike figure. This is when the moon completes her great cycle, but by the other rumors he shall be dishonored. Much excitement surrounding this prediction is based on the fact that pasteur is a French word for pastor or shepherd. Louis Pasteur is credited with discovering microbial decay. His breakthrough is credited with saving countless lives over the course of history. Now this is the rise of Adolf Hitler for the next prediction. From the depths of the west of Europe, a young child will be born of poor people. He who by his tongue will seduce a great troop. His fame will increase towards the realm of the east. And another one. Beasts ferocious with hunger will cross the rivers. The greater part of the battlefield will be against Hister. Into a cage of iron will the great one be drawn when the child of Germany observes nothing. On April 20th of 1889, Adolf Hitler was born in Austria, which is in Western Europe, but his family was middle class, not impoverished. Hitler did rise to power in part due to his oratory abilities and did initiate World War II by invading Poland. Some Nostradamus supporters have posited that Hister is a misspelling of Hitler, but it's actually the Latin term for the Danube, which is that river that we talked about earlier. Charles de Gaulle, Hercules, king of Rome and Anamark, with the surname of the chief of Triple Gaul, Italy and the one of Saint Mark to tremble, first monarch renowned above all. Charles de Gaulle was a three-time leader of France. First, de Gaulle led the Free French forces during World War II, then became Prime Minister of the Provisional Post-World War II government. Lastly, de Gaulle was the first president of the French Fifth Republic. Other than that, this quatrain appears to have little else to do with the famous French politician. The bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Near the gates within the two cities will be scourges the like of which was never seen. Famine within plague, people put out by steel, crying to the immortal God for relief. In early August of 1945, the United States dropped 2 atomic weapons on the island of Japan in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The cities were devastated and many survivors of the blast suffered from radiation poisoning. In the wake of the war, Japan also went through a food shortage crisis. Oh my god, I need to mute Discord, guys. Just sorry about that, just a sec here. Oh boy. All right, we're good. I muted Discord. So the prediction, so the assassinations of JFK and Bobby Kennedy. The great man will be struck down in the day by a thunderbolt, an evil deed foretold by the bearer of a petition. According to the prediction, another falls at nighttime, conflict at Reims, London, and a pestilence in Tuscany. President John F. Kennedy received numerous death threats over the course of his presidency. While visiting Dallas on November 22, 1963, the president was gunned down. The assassination shocked and devastated the nation. His brother Bobby Kennedy was later assassinated just after midnight on June 5, 1968. The conflict in Reims and London and sickness in Tuscany, however, doesn't fit with the assassination of the Kennedys. And September 11, 2001. Earth-shaking fire from the center of the earth will cause tremors around the new city. 2 great rocks will war for a long time. Then Arethusa will redden a new river. On the morning of September 11, 2001, the 2 towers of the World Trade Center in New York City collapsed after Al-Qaeda terrorists hijacked passenger planes into the buildings. Nostradamus' prediction about the fire from the center of the earth doesn't connect with anything pertaining to 9/11. And this article was written by Robert Johnson. And now, guys, as well, there are a lot of people throughout history who have claimed to predict the future. The most 2 notable ones are Nostradamus and Baba Vanga. I'll have to talk about her predictions during another video because today we're talking about Nostradamus. But it seems from what we've read so far that Nostradamus has predicted many of his predictions have come true. like the Hitler thing, the Hister. Um, yeah, no, and also Rasputin claimed to be able to predict the future as well. I'll have to do a whole video about him sometime because he's a cool dude to learn about. London. Let's see. Okay, the atomic bomb, JFK assassination, September 11th. Yeah, no, that was the exact same article. Nostradamus prediction prophet warned Italy of very great plague. Is it coronavirus? Coronavirus has infected more than 2,000 people in Italy, triggering the biggest outbreak of COVID-19 in Europe. What was the coronavirus outbreak predicted by Nostradamus when he wrote A Very Great Plague in Italy? The coronavirus has spread through the globe since December last year. It has infected more than 92,000 people globally. The coronavirus disease, which first appeared in China's Wuhan city, has recently found a strong foothold in Italy. As Tuesday of March 3rd, at least 2,036 people across the country have tested positive for the virus, and 52 people have died so far, with the world scrambling to contain the epidemic. Bizarre rumors and conspiracy theories about the virus's origin are rife on the internet. Social media users have bizarrely claimed that the epidemic was predicted in the 16th century by apothecary and writer Michael de Nostradam, better known as Nostradamus. One person tweeted, "Crazy major developments, tensions rising in the Middle East, hashtag coronavirus pandemic, spreading through the world like wildfire, stock markets in free fall. The impact will be devastating. Seer Nostradamus predicted these dire catastrophic circumstances, scary times." Ted Wade also tweeted, "Watching Nostradamus. Nostradamus has predicted that the third Antichrist has already arrived, and the days in the apocalypse are already upon us. Has anyone considered that, 1, Trump is the Antichrist, coronavirus is the onset of the apocalypse?" Another person said, hashtag Nostradamus in Century 253 warns the great plague of maritime city will not cease, and there be avenged the death of the just blood condemned for a price without crime. Hashtag coronavirus. Was there any evidence behind this outrageous claim of Nostradamus? The French mystic penned his cryptic prophecies in 4-line poems known as quatrains. The majority of Nostradamus' quatrains were penned as 1555 magnum opus prophecies. In one of his quatrains, the 16th century prophet warned of a plague striking a number of cities in Italy. Century 3, quatrain 75 reads, "Pau Verona, Vicina, Saragossa, from distant swords, lands wet with blood. Very great plague will come with the very great shell. Relief near and the remedies very far." In another quatrain, Nostradamus mentioned a great plague, and the city of Lucca. Century 3, quatrain 19 reads, "In Lucca it will come to rain blood and milk." Shortly before a change of praetor, great plague and war, famine, and drought will be made visible. Far away from their prince and rector will die. Plague is also mentioned in relation to France, where more than 100 people have fallen ill with the coronavirus. Nostradamus wrote in quatrain 56, "Montauban, Nims, Avignon, and Béziers, plague, thunder, and hail in the wake of Mars, of Paris Bridge, Lyons, Wall, Montpellier." After 600s and 7 pairs. Oh god, what did I do? Okay, this should. Okay. Should you? And then this says, should you believe in Nostradamus' prophecies? According to Brian Dunning, the author and host of the Skeptoid podcast, where there's nothing prophetic about Nostradamus' writings. He said Nostradamus' writings are exploited in a number of fallacious ways, ambiguous and wrong translations, creative interpretations, and hoax writings, fictional accounts, and the breaking of non-existent codes within his quatrains all contribute to a vast body of work, all of it wrong, and many times the size of everything Nostradamus actually ever wrote. The skeptic added, Michael de Nostradamus was truly one of the brilliant lights of his day, but to subscribe to false stories and urban legends is to disrespect who the man actually was. Appreciate his contributions to medicine and Renaissance literature, and don't trivialize his good works in favor of a pretend history of paranormal magic powers. Um, so, according to that article, it is believed that Nostradamus predicted the coronavirus. Do I think he did? I'm not sure. I've never honestly ever since no honestly since the 2012 prediction didn't happen, I haven't really believed any of his prophecies. And the 2012 prediction was like the world was going to end in 2012. There would be no 2013, and look at us, we're in 2020 right now. So I really don't know about this one. I don't know if I really believe Nostradamus' predictions or not, but some of them have obviously come true in from what I just read, but it's just um it's just kind of hard to, put like your finger on it really. Like, is um did Nostradamus actually predict these things, or did he actually or was it just mistranslations like everyone says? Because, like I said, the world didn't end in 2012. This coronavirus one is scary. Like, a lot of people are scared about coronavirus, but from what I have read online and research about the coronavirus, I heard the flu is honestly 10 times worse. The people that are really kind of getting sick horribly and dying from the coronavirus are the elderly and babies, who have weakened immune systems and everything, and like people who already have like respiratory issues such as asthma and everything. So, and I know like some people who are infected with coronavirus, they don't even know they are infected with it, which is scary, but at the same time it's bad. Like, it's pretty much just like I saw, like my psychology teacher talked about in class one day. The coronavirus is sort of just like a seasonal like disease going around the world right now. My 90-year-old grandma last year, they believe that she had it, but not 100% sure. So really, it's it's just, I don't know. It's People have had it in the States before, and it's just kind of taking major traction now because of what happened in China and how it's coming over here now. So it's just kind of picking that up and everything. But um, just if you're out in public, guys, with the coronavirus and everything, just use common sense. Wash your hands. Don't be around people who are sick. Don't touch your face. This is like sort of like the triangle here that you like should not touch. Like, so don't touch your eyes, nose, mouth, ears. Just don't touch those. Like, if you're out like in public or something, like just don't any like touch stuff. Don't like rub your face or anything, because that's how the germs like get into your eyes and everything. So just be safe with that, guys. Use hand sanitizer when necessary. Um, Stay clean. Like I said, wash your hands. But a lot of people are like really freaking out over it. Like, I went to Walmart the other day. All the Clorox wipes were gone. All the hand sanitizer was gone. All the soaps were gone. People are kind of going overboard with it, in my opinion. But I mean, I get it. It's like a disease that that's like kind of rare. Nobody's really ever heard of before, so everyone's kind of like in a panic about it, which I understand. But I mean, if you do go out, buy some of that, if it's even in the stores anymore, be courteous. Take what you need. Leave some for the other people out there who need them as well. Like for like home and everything. Just don't be greedy with the supplies that you get. I mean, um, yes, coronavirus is a scary disease, but um, it but from what I've read, the flu is worse. So just common sense, guys. Just like I said, wash your hands, don't touch your face, hand sanitizer when necessary, wipe stuff down when you feel the need to wipe it down. You guys should be good. You guys should be good. And like the masks too. If you're really worried about it, like wear a mask in public, cover your face, and just stay away from sick people and stay home if you're sick, so you don't get other people sick as well. Because I know like the CDC is trying to contain the virus really. So just common sense, guys, and just you guys know what to do. You guys know what to do. Sorry, that was the kind of the Corona rant right there. I just kind of wanted to talk about that since we just talked about the Nostradamus predicting the coronavirus. um, and I know, and I do apologize too if this was like a boring episode today. I didn't realize the book would be that bland or anything. That was like literally the first time I touched the book since I bought it for my work. Um, Not a fun read, but it's an interesting read nonetheless. So normally I keep the streams going for an hour, but it's 51 right now. I have plans with a friend tonight, and I need to just clean up a little bit because my room's a mess. I'm just trying to get it cleaned up, get some stuff ready to donate to charity and stuff. So I'm probably gonna just call it quits right here. So if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. You can dislike it if you dislike it. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. Become a member of the Crypto Crew today. Also, guys, comment below suggestions for other streams. Next week, I don't know what I'm going to do for my stream. I really don't. Maybe I can finish the Ghost of St. Charles. That would be kind of cool. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll see what we can do here. So, I don't know. So I'll probably film a cryptid rating sometime later, like this week or something. Maybe Saturday I'll film it and then upload it that night as well, because I just uploaded a cryptid ratings yesterday. If you haven't checked it out, you definitely should. It's about a really weird creature called the Kamakrusa. So definitely check that out. But other than that, I really don't have anything else to say. So we'll be streaming in Sunday, though. So thank you guys so much for coming out. You've been watching Cryptocast. I've been your host, Parker. Stay spooky, and I'll see you guys.